welcome back to another book review of books on the Tiger tank. So this one is about Tiger 1s and Tiger 2s on the Eastern Front in 1944. It's the Tankcraft series. This is numbered, this particular volume is numbered Tankcraft 1 in the series. And just to note that that numbering doesn't have any relation to the chronology of the war that it's covering, because this is Tankcraft 1 for 1944, and I reviewed Tankcraft 20 for Eastern Front 1943. In any case, I think more distinctive search term is to search for Tiger 1, Tiger 2 tanks, Eastern Front, 1944. So Tiger 2s appear in this volume because it's when 1944 is the first year that Tiger 2s deploy on the front. So previous volumes I've seen are just Tiger 1s. We get to 1944, we get Tiger 2s. Now, the overall package of this book is the same as previous packages. So 64 pages, printing on the inside covers, title page begins on the inside of the paperback cover. What is different here is the first 16 pages, which I've seen in other volumes, have been devoted to summarizing the campaign as a whole. This doesn't do that. It has a bit of summary of the development of the Tiger tank, which is redundant across other volumes. And then it gives you a campaign map for Eastern Front 1944, but it's already starting to talk about the unit histories and describing their force structure in diagrammatic form as well as tabular form, and illustrating the particular units with black and white photographs along the way. So it begins straight away with unit histories, which I much prefer because as I reviewed the volume here that was on the Southern Front, meaning North Africa, Sicily, Italy, almost all of those first 16 pages were summarizing the campaign date by date, and most of it was not relevant to Tiger tanks in particular. So this is much more relevant, and I much more enjoyed reading this. And I appreciate too the detail of these tables showing inventories of tanks by date and some notes to explain how the unit is changing structurally. That's all much more useful information. And I think the author is more comfortable dealing with the Eastern Front than other fronts. And it shows again in this particular volume. So first 16 pages talking about the different units, unit by unit. The selection of photographs is much superior when he deals with the Eastern Front. So a lot of photographs I have not seen before and much better captioned. And then you get through the first 16 pages, black and white. Then you get to the color section. This is the same for all the volumes. After the first 16 pages, you get color sections where each color page has two painted side profiles of operational tanks, and usually with a black and white photograph of a particular tank that is being featured in these color pictures, with some text describing the author's choice or explanations for his interpretation of how the camouflage scheme would have looked in color. And then you get to the first painting side profiles of the Tiger 2. Now note that the colors are very vivid, so they're unrealistically vivid to me as printed here. But the advantage of that is that you can better appreciate the differences in colors that the author is trying to represent. So sometimes it looks a little too vivid. It sort of takes away the appreciation of the realism. But the realism is in the author's attempts to study these black and white photographs, work out the subtleties of the colors, and also some research on what the units, emblems, symbols, tactical numbering would have been. This particular color section has side profiles of just turrets, so you can see the differences in tactical numbering for this particular unit. I haven't seen him look at just turrets before in the color section. More Tiger 2 tanks. These are actually the tanks featured in the operation in Budapest to restore the pro-Axis regime there. Then we get to the final color section. There were actually 10 pages of these color profiles, so 2 color side profiles per page, so 10. That's in keeping with some volumes. The Southern Front volume actually had 11 of these color side profiles. Then the next section is then about model making. So it showcases some exemplary examples of model making of the Tiger 1. And there are going to be actually 24 pages of just on models. and that's longer than I've seen in the other volumes in this series. So as few as 20 pages. There are 24 pages on models, and I presume that's because the author is trying to get, trying to profile a lot of the Tiger II kits as well as the Tiger I kits. Although remember, some of the kit reviews are redundant across volumes. They're the same kits, they're the same reviews, just pasted across volumes. Now look at this one. This is the Sturmpanzer kit exemplar of a model making of the Sturmtiger, and it's got an unusual paint scheme here. I'm not even sure you would call it a camouflage scheme. It seems to be yellows and reds that were available at the time, but very well modeled by the modeler in question here. Then you got some Tiger II kits. So, and then the different kit reviews, which I've seen in other volumes. There's 24 pages of that, 24 pages up to here. That gets you to page 51 in the 64 pages in the book. And then we get back to unit histories, operational unit histories, which is more interesting to me. That will take you, let's just check that. So then you'll get 6 more pages on the operational histories after the color schemes. And then you get 6 pages on the design changes. So that begins on page 58. So design changes in 1944, both in the factory and in the field. There's 6 pages of this. Remember, some of these, some of the text will be redundant to other volumes that are covering the same period. So a lot of these design changes are actually going all the way back to March 1943. So when you pick up the volume on Eastern Front 1943, you'll see exactly the same text describing these design changes, 2 pages from 1943. That's because they're relevant to Tigers that are still in service in 1944. And then we've got this new text in the series on the Tiger II design changes. So that's helping to explain why there's 6 pages on design changes as a whole, both Tiger I and Tiger II. Amazon.com, American Amazon, this is trading at $19.95 paperback. There is a Kindle version for this particular volume, which is $5.57. And on British Amazon, it's £14.99 for the paperback version and £4.31 for the Kindle version. So there you have it, Dank Craft, Tiger I and Tiger II tanks, Eastern Front 1944.